For my next question, I want to give some context for the audience, and then I want to ask you the question. If you look at the law under Section 13, it mentions that when the committee has to give, when it reaches its decision-making stage or the recommendation-making stage, when they are drafting the inquiry report, in the case of a private sector organization, they have to give recommendation as per the provisions of the Act. And in the case of public sector, they have to give recommendations as per the service rules. So my question, Anagha, to you in that context is, when you've received complaints against, say, employers in the private sector, typically what is the kind of recommendation you give, and how do you see those getting implemented? Because this whole ring of, the employer going back to their own organization, and you cannot really terminate the employer from employment also. And so that being in the private sector versus in the public sector, where service rules may have to be followed, and you may not even end up giving any recommendations as such, apart from saying guilty or not guilty. So I just wanted you to draw some parallel for us, and explain this to us.
Yeah, so as you rightly mentioned, in the government sector, we will not be able to, say the nature of penalty, nature and quantum of penalty. We may just say that the person is guilty, and the penalty is recommended, then decided by the disciplinary authority, etc. In the private sector, one or two complaints that we have handled, we have got apology letters written, because written apology is also a penalty under the law. So we have got a written apology. We have also, initiated a process where, it was the case which I mentioned about the self-employed professional. We had indirectly initiated a process where we had, said that this clinic has to be deregistered, etc. We were trying to, actually we were trying to actually cancel his registration, but we found that the clinic was not authorized. So one day it was raided by the concerned police station, and the clinic was shut. So we had kind of indirectly done that, but we had got a written apology. So I think there are serious limitations when it comes to penalty, because the local committee does not really have that. I mean, on paper it may be having that power, but practically, that is not possible. And I'm anticipating that if there is a complaint of a domestic worker, I think penalty is far ahead. But if the respondent, or the employer who is a respondent, is called by the local committee, and if he does not appear before us, I don't see how we can drag him to the inquiry, unless we take help of the police. And that is not clearly mentioned in the act, that we can write to the police station, etc. So I mean, as I said, recommendation is something far ahead. But even getting the person to the getting the person to participate in the inquiry is also a challenge, according to me.
Correct. And in the case of domestic workers, even if you give an ex parte decision, it seems like it will be very difficult to really do anything about it, actually.
Yeah, and in fact, I always, for my own understanding, I have always drawn this parallel with police. And, I feel that the local committee has severe restrictions vis-a-vis police, because police can actually drag the person to the police station. Police can actually arrest the person. Police can search the person's residence. There are so many things which police can do. And then there is going to be a proper trial in the criminal court, etc. But I mean, if ever women domestic workers were to ask me that why should we come to you and why should we not go to the police, honestly speaking, I do not have any answer, because we are crippled, if we compare ourselves to police. Police is much more powerful. The only advantage that I see for the local committee is that we have perspective, which the police lacks, obviously. So therefore, we will be able to, we can forward the case to the police, which we are expected to do under the law. We are not expected to conduct inquiry. But if we were to do something that way, we would not be able to do so. Ultimately we will have to forward it to the police, and that is what is written in the act.
No, that's absolutely true. And even though under law there are powers of a civil court that has been given to the committee, I think when you look at the practicality and the way the whole thing boils down to reality, somewhere down the line you do end up wondering that what kind of powers do I have. So then, as a result of this, do you think that not so much the internal committee, but for a local committee to really be able to function and do the task for which it was constituted in the first place, do you think that there is some kind of some sort of additional powers or something which needs to be granted so that they're able to function in a better way?
Yeah, it's not just additional powers, but the local committee, the first thing, in the existing framework, what I feel the local committee needs resources in terms of infrastructure, in terms of money, because as I mentioned earlier, we don't have money to conduct awareness. So if I were to go and organize, awareness sessions for domestic workers in my district, I am not able to do it because I don't have money. To do that awareness generation. So apart from that, we don't have a proper space. We don't have dedicated resources within the women and child department to help us out or for coordination. So I think in Maharashtra, largely it is done by the protection officers who are appointed or the probation officers who are appointed under the the Children's Act, etc., the Probation Officers Act, Probationary Officers Act, or the Domestic Violence Act, the protection officers. So again, we don't have dedicated persons to kind of coordinate. There is no money, there is no proper space. There are no periodic trainings which are done of the local committee, because not all local committee members are on the same page. So different people may come from different. So I know that there are sometimes there are doctors, etc., there are lawyers, there are teachers, and they may not have the perspective which probably some other person may have. So there are no periodic trainings. So I think this is something which is in the existing the current framework, and we don't really need to make any changes to the law. But definitely amendments are required. And if you ask me honestly, the first two issues that we mentioned as to who is the employer and what should be the procedure, I think need to be dealt urgently. And the issue is that the local committee, which is completely deprived of resources, if it were to receive complaints of all employers, I don't know how it is humanly possible for the local committee members to do so many inquiries. So I think this provision of inquiry against employer needs to be re-examined. So I will not say that it should be removed or something, but it should be re-examined, because it is the way I look at it is that this mechanism is created for the unorganized sector, out of which domestic workers is specified, but all the other unorganized sector women workers, it is meant for them. What is happening is that it is largely being utilized by organized sector women against employers. Now, if I say this, there will be probably an argument that, where do you go if you want to complain against the employer? So, I'm not saying that this local committee should not do it, but that provision needs to be re-examined. Also, a possibility needs to be considered if the Women's Commission can be given that power to do inquiry against the employer, because women's commissions also can set up special committees. Because as I said, a local committee which is already resource deprived, if it is burdened with the inquiries coming against the employer, I am not sure if local committees can live up to the expectations,
Okay.
considering the population of India.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.